Well, it's finally here. Alabama versus Georgia week. First time these teams have played in regular season, I think, in about 4 years. And it's something that don't happen very often for Alabama and Georgia. They usually don't play until the SEC championship game. But this is the game that people have been talking about all summer, not just in Georgia and Alabama, but the SEC and the nation as well. As this is probably the game of the year thus far. And a lot of people are wondering if Kirby Smart and Georgia can finally take that baton from Alabama, or if Kalen DeBoer is going to make his statement really early in his career here at Alabama. Let's talk about it. Rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling, rolling, rolling. Just like that old Limp Bizkit song, Rolling. It's going to be rolling this week, boy. Got a big game rolling into Tuscaloosa. It's Alabama versus Georgia. We even got Donald Trump rolling into Tuscaloosa for this game. It's so big. But before we get to all that, here they come riding in once again. It's the Outlaw Posse. Now, in effect, in today's Four Horsemen shout-outs go to Darth Iskines, Richard Burton, Corrections 101, and Jeff Payton are mounted up and saddled up and ready to go. And they're going to help us with today's college football invasion. And if you want to get your badge, get deputized, get a random Four Horsemen shout like they just did, as well as possibly be the comment of the day, which comes later in the show, all you got to do is hit that join button over there by the subscribe button. It's not but $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. That's just a half a bottle of water for the outlaw in these Bidenomics. Also, you can like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Those are the big four, and they're all absolutely free. Now, getting right to it here. The biggest game of the year is on the docket, in my opinion. And got a few predictions out there and some stats that y'all might be interested in seeing and making your decision on the prediction for this game. I like to get everybody's predictions in the comments section. I've been wanting to do a weekly comment prediction thing for you guys out there, maybe give y'all some kind of reward. So what I'll do for this game, since we're getting into the meat of the college football schedule now, the first 2 or 3 weeks were sort of blah, so I didn't really try to push it too much. But drop your prediction in the comments section, and I'll see who comes the closest, and maybe I can give some kind of little prize away of some sort. Now, getting right to it here. Let's pull up something for you guys right now from SI. Some interesting stats that may help you make a decision on who you think is going to pull this game out in Tuscaloosa, which is a big game for both teams. But with it being a 12-team playoff, the great thing about this is both these teams can probably afford to lose this game and still get in the playoffs. Says one thing that the Georgia fans can feel good about in this matchup is Kirby Smart's track record when he gets a week or more to prepare for an opponent. Sort of sounds like Nick Saban. Over his career, he is 16-2 in those games, averaging 36.4 points per game and allowing an average of only 19.4 points per game. Smart has not lost one of these football games since Texas in 2018, as the 2020 Florida game did not have a bye week beforehand like they normally do. From a general perspective, both of these teams are good on both sides of the ball. Georgia is currently averaging 31.7 points per game and allowing just 6 points on defense. Today, Georgia is averaging 402.3 yards on offense per game and just 202.3 yards on defense, which ranks third in the country. Their opponents are averaging 3.5 yards per play. Alabama is averaging 466.7 yards on offense and 248 yards on defense, which ranks 13th in the country as far as defense goes. The average opponents are averaging 3.37 yards per play. So it seems like everything's pretty even. Alabama, it looks like, has the better offense by a good amount of yards, and Georgia has the better defense. So sort of like two penalties. One penalty is on one team, one penalty is on the other team, and they just X each other out. So you really can't go by who has the better offense or the better defense, because one has a better offense and one has a better defense. Two of the nation's top quarterbacks will be facing off this weekend. A lot of eyes will be on them in this game. Against conference opponents in his career, they ought to just do the season. I don't know. The career stuff don't matter, because last year you had, what was his name? Brock Bowers is not here now, and it's really hurt him a lot. You wouldn't think a tight end could hurt him that much, but I saw a funny meme, and I'm going to put it up here in just a second. It'll be the meme of the day. It says here, Alabama has been one of the most explosive offenses in the country thus far, and Georgia's defense will have their hands full keeping their track record against explosive clean this weekend. On offense, Georgia has 16 20-plus yard plays, 9 30-yard-plus plays, and 4 40-yard-plus plays. Alabama has had 20 20-yard plays, 11 30-yard plays, and 7 40-plus yard plays. On defense, Georgia has only allowed 2 20-yard-plus plays, 1 30-yard-plus plays, and 0 40-yard-plus plays. Alabama has allowed 3 on the 20, 0 30-yard-plus, and 0. So Alabama's defense actually is better than Georgia 30-plus yards. I mean, Georgia's only given up 0 on 40-yard plays, but Alabama hasn't given up any on 30 or 40. So Alabama has had more explosive, big-time plays than Georgia. So that something's got to change. It's going to be like two immovable forces coming up against each other. Something's going to have to give. What I think will probably happen is it'll be somewhere in the middle. I expect this game to probably end up in the 20s, high 20s maybe. I just don't expect it to get into the 30s. It might. If it gets into the 30s, Georgia's in trouble, in my opinion. But moving on from that, that was just a rundown of, and here's some more stuff right here. Let's bring up a little video of a Georgia guy from the Georgia perspective. Basically, he was on here talking about how Kirk Herbstreit had something to say about Georgia is making him really feel good about himself. The Georgia people are looking for anything they can find right now because they ain't looked too good against Kentucky. So Georgia really wants this game bad for the Georgia nation. Kirby Smart really needs this game. Georgia as a program probably don't need it as much as Kirby Smart does as a coach, but this is a big game for Georgia. They have been talking for years about how they can't get over Alabama and Nick Saban. Nick Saban's not there anymore. It's time for Kirby Smart and Georgia to take the baton. If they're ever going to take it away from Alabama and run with it, this is the time, because they're 1-8 against Alabama. And the one game they did win, the national title game, they got a banged-up Alabama team. So there's sort of a lot of people put an asterisk by it. Let's bring up this video real quick about this guy talking about Kirk Herbstreit and why the Georgia Bulldogs should be the ones to win this game. Here we go.
Kirk Herbstreit, of course, having a few things, one of which will certainly motivate Alabama in their quest to win this game. He said initially it's going to be I think everyone's going to be excited to see Kirby and the Dogs travel to Tuscaloosa. And then this from Kirk, he said, Georgia has knocked Alabama off in recent years. I look forward to the comments down below about that. I think what he meant was Alabama is no longer exclusively the number one team in the SEC, and that's really up for grabs this week. One other thing he said, I cannot wait to get down there, talking about how College Game Day will be in Tuscaloosa. Look, this game is an important one. I think it's going to seem more important than it is. I don't know who this game's bigger for. Man, it feels like it's really big for Kirby Smart, I have to say. I'm not sure if it's big for Georgia, but it seems like it's big for Kirby. Kalen DeBoer has done and I don't think anybody's surprised. Kalen DeBoer's done a really good job so far here. Their beating of Wisconsin is probably their best performance. the South Florida game was not Alabama's best moment, time, performance, whatever you want to call it. But, they really rebounded.
Do your research. If you do your research, you know that Alabama had a lot of their offensive linemen out. A scattered offensive line can make you be an entirely different team. Not making excuses, just saying that when our offensive line was intact, there's a reason why we drug Wisconsin up and down the field at their own place. We had our offensive line back intact.
Against Wisconsin and just drug them on the ground. I mean, that was an ugly game. All you needed to do is watch the first drive of that and just see how bad and nasty that one was. But
to take the disrespect off of Wisconsin, the first drive, you really couldn't tell. Actually, Wisconsin kept that game close up until the middle part of the second quarter. So this guy, once again, is just parroting shit that he obviously heard from somebody else, and he obviously didn't really watch the game.
This is such I don't know really where to land on this, which is when you talk about Georgia and Alabama, certainly lately it's been impossible not to talk about Kirby and Nick, and Nick's gone. And you can tell he's gone at Alabama. You can certainly tell because he's.
How can you tell? We're 3-0. Is that anything different from Nick Saban? I don't know. This dude's just talking out of his ass, I think.
On game day with those guys, it's going to be very curious to see and hear his sort of reaction when he's down there, not still being the coach at Alabama, but having plenty to say. And I don't know if you can have two head coaches. That's the problem.
Why is that a problem? Nick Saban's not the head coach. We don't have two head coaches, you idiot. You got Mike Bobo on the staff, and he used to be a head coach somewhere else. Does that mean Georgia's got two head coaches? Man, shut up. That's just him trying to steer the pot and him reaching because he's a Georgia Bulldog. Since we're going to be biased here, I'm going to play the biased part for Alabama.
Is you're going to have to it's important for Alabama to be coached by Kalen DeBoer right now, not by Nick Saban.
You're stupid.
I don't think there's confusion about that, but I could see how there could be some, to be honest.
How? Can there be confusion about that? Nick Saban's not on the sidelines, you moron.
Honest. But the line that Kirk had about Georgia has knocked Alabama off in recent years. Not on the field. I mean, they 2 of the last 3 games.
And therein lies the problem, jackass. Not on the field, where it matters. Oh, we beat them in recruiting a couple of years. Whoa. Oh, wow. That don't mean shit if you don't win. And Kirk Herbstreit, let me go back to what the guy said earlier in the video. Now he's bringing it back up again. So let me go ahead and expound on it since he's bringing it up twice. Kirk Herbstreit's actually talking out of his ass. And yes, Kirk Herbstreit's been around for a while. He's a decent broadcaster, but as far as knowledge, without having someone send it to him and feed it to him, Kirk's not really a good historian because they haven't knocked off Alabama, Kirk. Actually, Alabama knocked off Georgia the last time we played them, man. This ain't like this was a few years ago. This was just last year that Alabama beat Georgia. Georgia has not knocked off Alabama. That's the problem with Georgia is they have an Alabama problem. That's the problem. They can't get over Alabama. They're 1-8 versus Alabama, Kirk, and dog post. How is it that Georgia's knocked Alabama off the perch when they're 1-8? Come on, man. Y'all got to come back with something better than that. And this ain't me being biased. This is y'all being biased and y'all being secretly hating on Alabama and wanting to see them, have their demise. You can't really blame people because Alabama's been good for so long. We've won so many national championships in the last 15 years or so. If I wasn't an Alabama fan, I'd be sick of us too.
So let's put all this into perspective.
Yeah, I want to do that. Let's see him put it into perspective. He's done unperspective the hell out of it up to this point. So maybe he can recover right here.
as bad as Kirby's record was to Nick Saban, he was only, the majority of those games, Georgia was not the favorite. So
he's stupid. Georgia was the favorite in a lot of those games, but he's going to say they weren't.
There's part of that. In 2017, they were not the favorite. In 2018, they were not the favorite they were like.
What does that matter? If you're the favorite or you're the underdog, if you don't win the games, either way, you're a loser. You lost. You're still 1-8.
Like a 14-point dog to Alabama, and I think you could say they should have won that game. 2020, they were not the favorite. They were clearly not.
Should have won the game. Just like back when Mark Rick said, we run out of time. Well, no shit. That's why you either tie the game and send it into overtime, or you win or you lose, Mark. Georgia, dog post, Kirk Herbstreit. If you don't win, you don't win. Don't say I should have won, because should have don't matter.
Not the better team that night. In 21, in the SEC championship game, they were favored and lost that game. In 21, in that game they were favored, and Georgia was favored in that game and won it. And then last year they were favored and were upset by Alabama. So we've seen lately where Alabama has been able to upset Georgia in Atlanta specifically.
That's putting it in perspective. Atlanta is in the backyard of Athens. That's not an advantage for us. So I don't know why you would even mention that.
What we don't know is now it can't help you're playing in Tuscaloosa if you're Georgia. I mean, all you have to do is watch the Oklahoma game last night.
It doesn't help playing in Tuscaloosa like it is watch the Oklahoma game. Oklahoma lost that game at home, you idiot. That's not a good example. Yeah, they played Tennessee close, but yeah. He's just all over the place. He reminds me of Kamala Harris, man. He's just word salad. That's all he is.
Tonight, and see how the crowd was. All that stuff matters. Or in Lexington last weekend, or you watch NC State play at Clemson. It's hard to win on the road. USC.
It's hard to win on the road. But Tennessee won on the road, and I didn't like it. But you're using a very bad example.
USC was the better team and lost to Michigan. Yes, they were the better team.
That's a better example. You shouldn't have started off with Oklahoma.
They didn't get off to a good start, but they were the better team. And so Georgia's going to have to work their way into this.
But they weren't the better team. 27-24 says otherwise.
This game. And offensively, the defense should play well from the start. And this is a good Alabama offense. They're continuing to score points. I don't think they've scored. I mean, they are a dangerous offense because of what Jalen Milroe has done and can do. And the receiver is exceptional.
Receiver is exceptional. Which one? Which receiver, man? Get your stats up, man. Get your shit right, man, before you come on here and start talking. His name is Ryan Williams, by the way. We got more than just one wide receiver. So you're going to have to make sure that you specify who you're talking about.
They're not – Alabama is not Tennessee in terms of scoring.
In terms of spit it out, man. We're not Tennessee. Okay. Yeah, I sort of figured that out. They got ugly orange helmets, and we got nice, pretty crimson helmets. Okay. But as far as offensive output, Tennessee hasn't really played nobody at this point until they played Oklahoma. And when they played Oklahoma, what happened to their offense? They only scored 25 points. Don't give me none of that BS about, Josh Heupel backed off. That is lame. That's weak sauce. That's grasping for straws. And the field wasn't in bad shape either. I don't want to hear that crap either. Tennessee's offense hasn't really shown that they're any better than anybody's offense as far as people that are in the top 10.
But, we'll just see about that too. I mean, they've not failed to score 42 points in any game they played. They've not played some very good teams, but they've not played good teams, but they have scored a pile of points, and they're number 6 in the country in scoring at 49 points a game. They will go up against a very different team in Georgia in terms of what they're dealing with. That will be a new challenge going up against the number 4 total defense team in the country. I mean, Georgia's not allowed a touchdown. I'm sure they will against Alabama. Georgia's, total defense.
I'm going to cut him off right there. My question is to him, no, Alabama hasn't faced your caliber of defense yet, but your offense hasn't faced a caliber defense like Alabama's yet. Not really. Y'all play Kentucky. Y'all try to hang your hats on that, but your offense only put up 13 points on Kentucky. If you put 13 points up on Alabama, don't expect to beat us 13-12. Just saying. You better come and be ready to play and be ready to score at least, I would say, between 24 and 31 points to win this game against Alabama. But like I said, you guys and gals drop in the comment section. Let me know what you think about all this. Who you think is going to win this game? Give me your prediction. Give me your score. We'll say the tiebreaker is going to be total passing yards by Jalen Milroe. So make sure you put the passing yard number in there too. So if there's a tie, I'll have a tiebreaker. But from the stats I've seen, the way I've looked at things, and the way things seem to have been shaking out this year so far, Georgia's offense has not proven to me that they're really that consistent without Brock Bowers. So I think if they have a problem with scoring, that I don't know if their defense can hold up long enough to allow them to win this game. If Alabama scores in the 30s, I think they can beat Georgia, even high 20s. I think Alabama can do that. I think Alabama can put at least 4 scores up on Georgia. Whether it's a couple of field goals or 4 touchdowns, that will probably be the deal breaker. If Alabama puts up 4 touchdowns, I think they can win the game. If they don't, it's going to be close. In the end, I think Alabama pulled out, and Georgia just won't have enough offensive firepower, and I think Alabama wins this game 28-24. And that's all I got to say about that. If y'all don't mind, there's a little heart down here. If you want to make a one-time donation to the program, smash that heart. Throw a few dollars in the coffers, help keep the lights on. Also, you can join the Outlaw Posse. As I said earlier, it's not $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. That's a hell of a deal. You'll get a badge. You'll get deputized. You'll get a random 4 horseman shout out and possibly be the comment of the day for just $2.99 a month, 75 cents. Just 75 cents a week. So join the Outlaw Posse. Also, like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Those are the big 4, and they're all absolutely free. They help me push the algorithm, helps me get in the good graces of YouTube. So if you can't do the Outlaw Posse, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, hit that subscribe button and share it to your friends. That's all I got to say about that. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.